Welcome to the show, everybody. What's up, Kev?
What is up? It's always weird to just jump in because obviously we talk a little bit to get warmed up before we jump. So it's always strange. One of these days, maybe 200 episodes in, I'm going to figure that out and how to
I just
really
love
jump
how
in.
you go like 90s. What's that?
Yes. Yeah. It's always going to be some kind of throwback,
frantic, manic energy.
Yeah. It's like, okay, what's up? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to share something too, of course, and again, this will date the episode, but who cares? We both got as lovers of music anyway, but we also like a little bit of sports here and there too. And
Oh yeah,
boy, did we both get our teeth kicked in this past weekend in such a ugly way. I wouldn't tell you.
Well, the Niners got their teeth kicked in. I feel like the Bills lost on some bad officiating.
There was bad. Yeah. Well, yeah. Without getting too, like I said, we could make that a whole sports podcast in itself, but
yeah,
that was ugly. It just was, and it's just par for the course for us. A little bit of par for the course for you guys going back to that title game a few years ago when you lost your quarterback and McCaffrey's having to basically be your QB, and it's like, all right, what's the point here, guys? It's just let's just finish the game up, and it's toast, right? And you kind of felt that way probably at the halftime, like we got to just do our best to show up and finish this out with dignity, and knowing that it's not going to probably end up in a W.
Yeah.
And figure out the best way in there. And again, for the Bills, it was just okay. Overtime is just not our friend at all. So
seems that way.
Yeah, just brutal, but whatever it is.
How do you feel about them canning McDermott?
On a fundamental level, I understand it. I do, because I think they want to see. Of course, he's built something with Joe Brady and the organization, the team, that feels good and has really tried for the better part of 7 or 8 years to get them to where they need to be. But no excuses this year. There's no Brady, as in Tom Brady. There's no Mahomes in this space.
Yeah.
So what's the holdup?
Yeah,
and
the
I
Ravens
think sometimes
suck.
Ravens were out quick.
Yeah.
So there's really nothing that was standing in the way, and everyone really did like, okay, if they can make it, they just need to get through there. But I think there's also an underestimation of some of the other incredible talent that kind of popped up this season as well. But
and the Bills are
organizationally, to me, it's probably the right call.
Mm-hmm. Like that was the thing that I feel like most analysts were failing to mention is they're going, well, there's no other great quarterbacks in this right now. It should be Josh Allen's time. And fair enough, but also the Bills roster as a whole is way worse than it was a couple of years ago, in my mind.
In certain key areas, perhaps.
It's like wide receiver, like probably your worst receiver core that you've had in a while. And then defense, I mean, in some ways you got better, in other ways you got worse. I don't know. It's hard to pin that all on Josh Allen, like just because you're the best quarterback.
I definitely will not put my foot in my mouth with the entrenched Bills Mafia at all. But I imagine that some people might be feeling like it's higher up than Sean McDermott, and that it might be more of an organizational thing that really needs a revamping there. I might be speaking out of turn, but for me, that's where I would probably start.
Or you think GM
at the GM level, I think.
Yeah.
Just really thinking about it.
That seems evident. I think.
And I think that's probably where they got to do some work really to figure out what do you want to build. If you're going to get a new coach, great. You're going to probably change up some of the things that are comfortable and that they know already, but what's the evolution of the team now? What do you want to say? What do you want to do?
And the Patriots are a problem now. The Patriots are a real problem for the Bills. Like they have very quickly turned that franchise around into what is probably going to be a good team for some time. They've got a good young quarterback. They've got a very stout defense. So, I mean, Miami, we'll see what happens there. And then who's the fourth team?
The Jets.
The Jets. Yeah. So, that's
I don't I don't really acknowledge any other team in New York in that space. I think they still have some work to do.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying that the backyard of the Bills doesn't have its own work to do as well. And I think from a 49ers place, look, that's injury. And I think everyone has just been grateful that you guys got as far as you did and were as competitive as you were. Had everyone been healthy throughout the whole season, I don't know if the outcome would be the same. That's not to take credit away from Seattle. They looked incredibly good. As much as that pains me to say,
crazy.
It just pains me to say it, but they are strong, and they definitely might.
The Rams too
make the dance. It was Rams too, yeah.
Yeah, the Rams too. Really good team. I mean, yeah. I mean, to your point, injuries was the biggest thing, but I came in with kind of tempered expectations this year, even before the injuries, because I mean, we have so much youth on the team. And, it's like last year we missed the playoffs and we cut a bunch of talented players loose that got, most of them good contracts elsewhere.
Yeah.
And decided to start over. We've got a bunch of young players on defense and a handful on offense. But then, you factor in the injuries on top of that. And, I mean, it was a lot of fun watching them this year because they were underdogs the whole time.
Yeah.
They continued to find ways to win. They had a couple of tough losses. We got a playoff win. We beat the reigning champs. That's fun. And, we lost. Only one team's going to make it to the end anyway.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good chance to reload. I was going to ask you that. Have you been seeing that whole story floating around about the power substation at the practice field and the whole thing around that?
Yes.
I find that so interesting.
It feels like there's a Stephen King novel coming where the whole Levi Stadium's built on an Indian burial ground, and there's going to be some kind of
definitely
long-standing ghosts that are haunting and have caused the 49ers to not be successful since the move from Candlestick, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know. It's all just fancy headlines. We've been so close
to come up short like this. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say. The team has been making jokes about that for a long time, apparently. And if you look at the data, it is an outsized number of players injured for the Niners than for other teams.
Sure.
And so you go, well, something's going on. Now, whether it's that or not, it's hard to say.
Well, not to say that there's not a long-standing history of superstition in sports. So if they do feel for any reason that it's causing some issue, they would just move it. They're just like, regardless of whether it's based in fact or not, they probably should do that.
They probably should.
Just so they feel like they can shake off the bad juju,
Yeah, and so that they can at least, because, John Lynch is talking about, the GM of the Niners, talking about, well, we're looking at studies or to commission studies or to do whatever we can to figure it out. But I'm going, look, you guys got a lot of money. Why not just move the field?
Just move it.
And if it gets better, it gets better. But why take the risk if it is that?
Great property out here.
You've got George Kittle tears his Achilles, right? And then you go, okay, well, sure. I mean, it's a terrible injury, but he is 30 or 31 or whatever he is now. He's been playing a long time. And then his backup comes in. And the next week tears his Achilles. And you're like, wait, this guy is 24. So, and has been a backup. He's not even playing. He's not taking the same wear and tear. And how is this happening? And he's not the only one. You have all these catastrophic injuries happening. Bosa's on his third ACL.
Bosa.
Yeah.
Right, all of them.
McCaffrey last year almost tore both his Achilles and had to go get a bunch of crazy treatment. And you've got Dre Greenlaw who tears his walking onto the field in the Super Bowl. And you've got, Michael Williams tears his ACL and
turf toe for Brock.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So, it's absurd. Yeah. And then Kittle, before he had that, he missed 6 games on a hamstring.
Yeah.
And that's just to name a handful, It's unbelievable.
But these are
really,
elite players that have a high amount of conditioning and all that stuff. So,
and the best sports treatment in the world.
But yeah,
well,
I'm not denying.
Neither am I. Neither am I.
If I'm a superstitious person, I'd be getting far away from that that facility.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's like something's got to change. I don't know what that something is. It's hard to imagine that just all the players that we've acquired are just all soft.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe. But it seems unlikely. It does seem unlikely.
I don't think that's the case. The case. Anyway, we digress. Enjoy that little detour for you all. We could call that segment hot takes about sports, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, for those of you who wanted to know some of the things we're into that aren't music, football is pretty high up there.
Yeah, we enjoy it.
Well,
but I don't really give two hoots. Obviously, I'll watch a Super Bowl, but yeah, who cares? To me,
it's kind of a lose-lose now at this point.
Yeah, I don't.
It's
really
a lose-lose because it's going to be either Patriots win it, and I don't really want to see that, and certainly you don't.
No,
because I really don't count Denver as having a realistic chance at winning this week.
That's heartbreaking for Denver fans, and
that's
I feel
brutal.
bad. Like, you guys won, good for you guys, proud of you, but Bo Nix going out in that brutal. Like, that was so stupid how that ends up happening to him for no fault of anything. But it's just like, oh my goodness gracious, guys. Because again, you beat us, good for you. Maybe you'll make it. That would have been my only person I thought, yeah, they've had a good run. Maybe they make it there. That'd be cool to see. But I couldn't give a crap about Seattle. The Rams, I don't really have any love for at all. And
that's the thing.
The Patriots, of course, I have no love there.
The Rams and the Seahawks are NFC West rivals for the Niners. So either of them winning is like, just kill me now. I hate to see that.
Yes. You're not one that's like, well, good for my division. Nope. Sorry.
No.
I don't believe in any of that at all.
No.
I do not believe in that.
No.
Sorry. Yeah.
No. And then the Patriots is a thing where it's like, I don't know. I don't remember how many Super Bowls they have historically. 5, I think.
Who cares?
Maybe.
Yeah, probably 5, 6.
And so if they get a 6th one, then they're officially ahead of the Niners on the all-time list. So you've got like 2 teams that are ahead of us, I think. Like
that's
the Steelers.
Already making me want to vomit. Yeah.
And maybe the Patriots already actually have 6. Maybe they're one of those teams.
I think they may do. I think.
So there's a couple, and I'm going, man, like, it's been since 94 since we've got one. Are you kidding me? Like, we have 2012 or whenever, and the power goes out toward the end of that game.
Mm-hmm.
We were going to win that one against Baltimore, at least so it seemed, and then everything kind of changed after, Baltimore got 45 minutes of rest, and then then we go and almost win one with Jimmy in 2019, and then we get back with Brock, and he leaves the field ahead, and then we just have a defensive breakdown to lose that game to Mahomes. So we, do that. And then, of course, the game where we're in the NFC Championship game and Brock blows out his elbow.
Yep.
And you're just going, man, to be so close so many times and walk away empty-handed is it's rough on a fan base for sure.
Well, certainly. And like you said, just to wrap that up in a beautiful bow, it feels like a really great Scooby-Doo episode. Like there's just so much superstition and lore and things since the creation of Levi Stadium that just feel like, yeah, there's a Scooby-Doo episode in there for sure. There's definitely something.
I'm sure.
Like the Phantom of the Park kind of thing, somebody's lurking around in the shadows of Levi Stadium, casting a curse across the 49er organization. Anyway,
I hope not. And if there is, I hope they catch them because I'm over it. I'm ready for a change.
Yeah.
That said,
let's talk about some new music.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you, is there anything musically that you found here lately in the new music world? I guess it doesn't have to be new, maybe just new to you, that's really exciting you? Because I don't know if this says more about me or more about current music, but I've been really trying to find something new, and a lot of bands that I really like have come out with some new music lately or are in the process of releasing new albums, whatever. And I don't know, man. I don't know if it's just where I'm at in life right now, but all of it is very like kind of meh to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to be that guy that just feels like nothing new is good, because I'm not that guy. And there's a lot of stuff that I found that I enjoy, but for some reason lately, I'm like, I don't know if it's just me, if I'm looking in the wrong place, but and I'm almost hesitant to name names because it's not really an issue necessarily of like artists not putting out good music. Maybe it's just not for me, but I don't know. Like I feel like I don't know, lately the excitement in music is kind of, things just feel kind of mediocre. Like, it's all right, it's all right, but
Yeah. I tell you, and I don't disagree. Like we've talked a little bit about things sometimes that kind of get me a little bit like, I guess it was last year, or maybe it was 2024, the One Assassination album from Maryland. I thought, like,
yeah,
this is good. This is really good. This felt honest. It felt like a return to form, if dare I even say that. But I think people that have followed Maryland's work probably felt a little bit of, and I'm sure he has now, going through his change and transformation, that some of those other records maybe weren't as strong as some of his earlier stuff. And so this last record that he did, felt really good to me, and
it was
I
good.
enjoyed that. I really did, from
Yeah,
top to bottom. I thought it was really strong. Uh, that Black Crowes record a couple years back, great record, really good
really
record for
good.
them.
Well, so
Great
they're an
return to
example of
form.
one that they put out 2 songs for their new record,
Yeah,
and both of them, I was like, I don't know what to say, because it's not bad,
no,
and it sounds like Black Crowes,
yeah,
but it also lacked, I don't know, some mojo to me. It just like it didn't get me excited in the way that, like, I remember like the first couple singles that they put out for that last record, I was like,
yeah.
"Ooh, this is good. This
Mm-hmm.
is really good." And I'm not getting that feeling from this, which
It's a
is a
tough one
bummer.
too, because I think a long time, and maybe this is a good little tangent off this, but it's like, a band like that, and this is a good jumping off point. So a band like that, they take a hiatus for however long it was. I don't even remember now, but it's over a decade. They go do their own things. They explore their own territories with what they're doing.
Yeah.
Some return to Black Crowes material and catalogs, of course, because people come out to hear some of that, depending on what camp they're in. Similar to Oasis, when Liam and Noel were doing their own projects, they still pull stuff from their own catalog together. But
Mhm.
so anyway, time apart, you got the brothers apart. They just say they reconcile. And so it feels there's an immediacy that comes back with that record that they did,
Yeah.
the Bastards album. I can't think of the full name, but anyway,
Happiness Bastards.
Happiness Bastards. Yeah. And it
Just
felt very much like it was just solid
top to
and
bottom, a really good record.
yeah. So, but it felt almost like your first record from a band where they have something to say. They come back and it's like, oh, they come back with a statement. And not to say that they're not doing that on this other record. I know that they like to push new avenues and things as well, but I kind of felt a similar thing. I was like, I was really looking forward to it. And I don't know if it was me and maybe just the time and place, but I was like, oh, okay, it's not
Yeah.
bad. And maybe there's going to be other stuff on the record that'll be good, but I kind of felt a little wanting more. And because maybe it was just I got such a high off of their return and some of that great and that album to back it up. That I
Yeah.
was like, "Cool, keep on the rocket ship, guys. This is great." Another one was
Well,
Ghost.
there was a fire on,
Mm.
like, and seeing them live. I had never seen them before, but you and I went and
Yeah,
saw them at
yeah,
the Fox 2024,
yeah.
whenever, and at Fox Theater in Oakland. And man, I mean, it was just really energetic and exciting,
Mhm,
and that came
mhm.
across in the music. And
100%, yeah.
I don't know, like that first new single, it's like, okay, this seems like very Keith Richards, Rolling Stones, but without, I don't know. I mean, it's just kind of like, it seems like a mid album cut. kind of song, not a first
maybe
single.
not a lead off single. Yeah.
And then the next one is kind of like She Talks to Angels Part 2 or something.
Sure.
And I'm going, all right, that doesn't really hit the same way either. And maybe they were hoping for, because they didn't really have a song like that on the last record. So maybe they're going, maybe we do something kind of like that again. I don't know what the rationale is. But you brought up Ghost.
Yeah. Well, I was just thinking, look, and this was a tough one for me because I know both of us are big fans of Ghost. And again, this is going to come off like we're just taking a crap on a lot of bands that we really love. And it's really not that. It's just more of like maybe it's our taste evolving or changing, or we, as we're continuing to create music, are craving something else to kind of help inform maybe our own direction of what we're interested in pursuing. But so Ghost does their last record again. There's some really great songs and even songs that I've come back to that I didn't really enjoy as much as their previous material that now, again, a year removed, I'm like, oh, that's a good song. Like that actually didn't give it as much of a chance perhaps as I did in the beginning.
Yeah.
But it's still, on the whole record didn't strike me nearly as well as the 2 or 3 records that preceded it. So then they do another cover, and I'm like, I'm always anticipating any cover that they do to be really like, oh, that was great. They covered, Phil Collins or Genesis. They cover the Shakespeare's Sister, which was such a deep cut that they did for that Conjuring movie. What a great tune to pull back out into the world again. But it was so kind of buried in the world of alternative music that most people wouldn't even know that that was a cover when they did it. It was just like, wow, this is really good.
Yeah.
So they just recently put out a cover of It's a Sin, and not that I would be the least bit surprised that Tobias would be a Pet Shop Boys fan. It makes sense. It still falls kind of in the wheelhouse of something they do.
Right.
But I also kind of heard it and I was like, okay, I kind of still prefer the original. And I didn't hear anything. Yeah, it sounds like Ghost, no doubt. All the things that you would imagine to hear and from production and all that stuff. It's not the production or anything else. It was just like, I kind of would have, it felt expected in a way. And that kind of bummed me out. I was like, I was really hoping for something else. And usually this is around the time where he would be putting out some covers or something to keep the interest alive until they get to another full length or whatever. But I'm kind of like, all right, kind of maybe returning back to the well a little bit of similar things. So Megadeth is another one. We've talked a little bit about this one too. Like Dystopia, to me, that record a few years ago, I was like, yes, this is a punishing Megadeth album for real deep Megadeth fans. Great guitar player on that with Kiko playing there. Some amazing riffage on that record. And just a great record entirely. And then The Sick and the Dead, or whatever the last one was good. Also kind of in the similar space, but maybe not as good to me as Dystopia. And then this last record, which is supposed to be sort of a swan song, if you will.
Which just came out today as we're shooting this. And this episode should go live today. So as of the 23rd of January.
I know, and my opinion may change, and maybe we'll come back next week and kind of talk about a full deep dive into the record. But the singles that they've released feel, I'm going to hate myself for saying it, safe a little. Because I do love this band so much and I do appreciate them. But they feel a little bit like ground that you've already done. And maybe that's intentional. Maybe that was like, look, I want to go out and just get it out to as many of the all Megadeth fans, no matter what era you come from. But if I was looking at Megadeth from how most people might, and kind of, I remember my era was, Rust in Peace or something like that. This feels more like a countdown to extinction time frame, where there's a lot more records that feel more accessible to a wider audience to me, at least from the singles I've heard. So, and I will say, it hasn't really excited me though,
Ride the Lightning.
But I do like Ride the Lightning.
Dude, Ride the Lightning sounds good. And when I saw that they were going to do that, I was like, what?
Mm-hmm.
Let it go, Dave. let it go. But it sounds awesome.
It sounds good.
and I've spoken about it before. It's like that's my favorite Metallica record.
Yeah.
So it's cool to hear like a modern production, and
Yeah.
Dave's vocals sound good on that.
Yeah.
You know, so okay, we've kind of talked about this before, but I'm going to bring it up again because I think it's still relevant, and I can imagine people listening to this conversation and wanting to yell at us through the screen that why are you looking for old bands to excite you with new music? Like that's seems kind of like a fool's errand. And hey, you know, I'll give you that. But it's like fan bases tend to get really torn on this sort of thing. But it's like, I don't know, there are bands that just do their same thing forever and you're really happy to listen to it. And then other bands who really challenge you with new works.
Yeah.
And there are plenty of examples of each.
Yeah.
You know, like the classic example is AC/DC. You don't want to hear AC/DC do anything experimental. Like if they just did Highway to Hell and Back in Black forever, everyone would be happy.
Yes.
That thing is what you want to hear from those guys. And fair enough. And then you have a band like, you know, the classic example for me is Avenged Sevenfold, where you have a band that has a core sound that is familiar, but each record that they put out takes a pretty big stab in a new direction, typically.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially once you get past the first couple of records, and then they sort of decide like, okay, we don't want to just keep recreating the wheel. The downside with that is that they lose a lot of people every record. They lose a lot of fans, but apparently it's worked out for them because they're, you know, one of the biggest names in rock and metal. They have no issue touring or, you know, anything like that. So they've got a big fan base.
Yeah.
And you could look at where that goes wrong would be a band like Metallica, which fortunately for them, they were the biggest band on the planet, so they could afford some speed bumps. But, you know, they eventually go, well, we don't want to just keep putting out, you know, the same thing. And so, you know, they go into their, you know, Saint Anger, Load, Reload, you know, Garage, Inc. Era, and really just sort of fumble the football in a big way for most people. Yeah. And then eventually like come back around, you know, they kind of sort of come back with Death Magnetic, but even that was kind of hit or miss for a lot of people, myself included. And then they kind of find their way back in, and luckily they had such a strong old catalog that they could absorb some of those misses. And so I can't fault a band for just doing what they do. And so it is probably more reflective of me and what I'm looking for in music, which I can't articulate. But it's like, man, yeah, I just, I want to hear, like Ghost is a band that was so fresh and so exciting to me for quite a while. And now it's been around long enough that I'm going, you know, I would be okay if they didn't put out a record for a while. Like, I feel like that would almost be a good thing. Or if they do that, they do something really different, go in a very different direction. Because I don't know, like, I assume once you've found magic as an artist, it's easy to want to keep going back to that well.
Yeah.
Or doing what you know, or their expectations of you. But I don't know, at some point you got to leave that and do something else, you know, and I can't tell another band what that would be, but I don't know, maybe if people are listening to this and you've got some new music that has just got you really fired up in any genre, I don't care. send it our way, because I'm feeling a little less than fulfilled in my musical consumption lately. And again, I don't want to blame other people. I think it is more reflective of me than them. But it's like the new Alter Bridge. Also, I was really excited for that to come out. And there's all this talk about how this is like their self-titled album finally all these years later, and how this is the most honest interpretation of them as a band. And I can respect that. And I hear what they're saying, but then I hear the songs and I go, and again, maybe I just need some time to get used to it. I love Miles Kennedy. I love Mark Tremonti. I love many of their records. And this to me seems kind of like, all right, yeah. I mean, I've heard this before, and it's not even necessarily the strongest version of that you've created of this kind of thing.
Right.
So I don't know, maybe that's something we need to factor into our music as we're writing the sort of next batch of songs, is like, how do we keep things fresh and interesting? I feel like a band that did that really well. Sorry, I know I'm all over the place.
No, it's all good.
I'll make this point and move on, or let you chime in. Is like a band that I feel like did that really well for a long time was Coldplay. Ironically, that I'm sure there are people rolling their eyes at that. But Coldplay, they have the first couple of records, which are more like acoustic and piano and an indie in a way. Moody and slow, and then they sort of do something that's like really different with Brian Eno, and then with X and Y, and then they do something way more different than that, and they do Viva La Vida, which was so cool and had a completely different type of songs and atmosphere, and then Milo Xyloto, and then the one that had
Ghost Stories.
Ghost Stories, really different again. And then they really fell off to me, where they just started making the same thing over and over again. And they kind of lost me.
Yeah.
But, there was a core thing with them that was the same through those, but all those records felt really like different works of art. But by the same artist,
Well, here's my whole run on this, and I'll go all over the place as well. Let me go to Arctic Monkeys. They just put out another song. Okay, sure.
Yeah.
And I think there's eras, there's different eras of Arctic Monkeys if you're going to those first. And I'll go, let's take AM as sort of the apex, right? That record, sort of the biggest commercial probably endeavor and commercial success. But like the Suck It and See record and some of the records that preceded that record, they were building up to that. And you could feel a rock sensibility, and them also expanding their scope and their influences in that space. I don't fault them for Tranquility Base Hotel. I think it was a great abrupt left turn that says, hey, we want to do something else, because we've spent 5 or 6 records building up to this thing. So we're going to shift it. Radiohead did the same thing. You had 3 records that got up to OK Computer. Everyone thought this is the most incredible band on the planet. And they go, hey, come with us on this next journey. And they do Kid A and Amnesiac, and lost a whole fan base. But now people go back and go, those records are absolutely genius. And they are. They're incredibly great, but they push an audience and a listener and a fan in a way that maybe is very uncomfortable. But now you can go back 20-something years later and listen to both those records and go, these are as equally good, if not better, than the 3 records that preceded it. It
those
just
are
depends
really
on
good
what
examples.
And so both of those, I don't really fault it, but then you go into, in the Arctic Monkeys, again, the record that precedes that, again, and I love this band, and I'm with them for the journey, because I do really respect what they're doing. So this does come from a fan's perspective. Both the records that preceded AM, that followed AM, were good to me, and I really enjoyed them. But from an audience, most people might find it not as exciting or as immediate, if you will.
Yeah.
And I think there's countless things where you kind of go there. When I find myself in this space, I tend to shift my entire energy, and I'll use a moment in time. There was, let's say, coming out of 1994, 95, things are starting to feel like, oh, there's a massive wave of alternative now being the main radio. And of course, there's going to be signature bands that still fall into that world where I'm like, yeah, I'm not going anywhere with them. Soundgarden being one,
Hmm.
you know, um, no doubt, of course, is kind of emerging in that time frame. I was into that. Incubus is starting to come up through that space. There's bands in there that you can go back and go, these are great bands that are kind of popping up. But
Yeah.
my interpretation of music at that moment was like I'd already reached a sort of apex with the Seattle scene and
Mm.
that grunge revolution, if you will, or whatever you want to call it, and was really locked in step with that and a lot of bands that were coming from sort of 89 to that 94, 95 window. By the time you're getting into
94,
like
95 is when it hits the sweet spot, though.
yeah, and
Yeah.
then for me, by the time you get to like the 97 era, I'm fully
Mm.
into like bands like The Verve, Portishead, The
Uh,
Prodigy, and I'm starting to shift my energy out of rock necessarily and looking for a little bit different. And I'm starting to get more into electronic now. Like you have the Chemical Brothers, you have Fatboy Slim, you have some of these bands that are bigger, the bigger ones, but then the whole scene that supports that stuff underneath. So I went really deep into house and techno and a lot of really great electronic music during that time, and really stayed out of mainstream rock radio for probably 8 years. Um,
yeah.
maybe not that long. I think probably 2003 I came back, and that's what I've always lovingly called sort of the garage rock revival, where you have the bands, like Yeah Yeah Yeahs or the Strokes or the Hives or
Yeah. Right.
White Stripes are kind of coming through up in that space, even though that was a bit earlier. The Raconteurs, of course, and some of those,
Yeah.
all of these bands that kind of pop off in that era, and there are many, many more that I'm not mentioning, Interpol and some other ones that were really
Mm.
great to me in that space. And that woke me back up into getting that era again. And I've carried on through and found different places, but that was very much like, oh, let me get back to my indie roots. And I'm kind of finding myself in this space right now where rock music on the whole to me is not as interesting to me as some of the bands. Like, I'll tell you some records I feel like have been really great. Like Wet Leg, that's a fantastic record. That's super awesome. It's an indie band, female fronted, incredible. Courtney
Yeah.
Barnett, incredible. Um, that Sam Fender record was a masterpiece to me. Every single song on that record has been fantastic and sounds so good. It gives me all kinds of vibes from War on Drugs to The Killers. Like
Mm.
it's super good. So when I found myself kind of drawing back from some of the older bands that I probably am looking to see, are they going to excite me as much? I start to shift my energy into other avenues. And I've gone back into electronic again and just kind of listening to more what's going on in that world. So I tend to go underground a bit more and
Yeah.
stay away from this sort of top line rock radio and kind of look a little bit deeper and say, what are some good bands out there that are trying to do something a little different? And that's where I go on a big exploration. And I'm kind of feeling in that space right now where I just want to dig in and see what else is. I don't even know if I even know who you are. I just want to listen and go, oh, wow, that's exciting to me. This is something really cool. So, same message you just
Yeah.
shared. Anybody got recommendations? I'm all about it. But more in that space for me, I tend to go into that, go underground.
Yeah, and maybe that's what I need to do is start venturing out of my normal places. And that's happened to me at different periods through my time as a, lover of new music is you get kind of tired and things don't satisfy you the way that they did before.
Hmm.
I remember around as pretty much everyone my age will attest, Continuum era John Mayer comes out and all of a sudden I leave basically all the metal and rock
Right.
that I was into at the time.
I'm over it. Yeah.
And I was way into that sort of thing, which led me down a path that turned into a lot of other great music, like Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers and all kinds of other stuff that leads me into other things adjacent to that, like Ryan Adams and Springsteen and Fleetwood Mac and artists that I knew, had a cursory knowledge of, and some of the hits because they're in movies and just part of the culture. But really digging in and understanding more of that stuff, that was a really great time. And then I remember like a little later, it must have been like probably 2013. I remember getting really into that first 1975 record, and a couple of those were really cool because I'm going, it's Europop, but it's also like it's got an indie thing, but it also has this like kind of underground quality to it. It's a little subversive in a way. It's very cheeky, so it's very British in that way. But it just felt fresh. It felt not like what else was popular at that time. And then I kind of came back around on a lot of like hard rock and metal after a while, and maybe I'm just coming back into one of those down cycles where I'm looking for something new again. But even then, it hasn't been all that long ago. Like, I've talked about it on the podcast before, but getting into now I'm going to blank on their name. Oh, that's annoying. Here, I'll pull it up. But that band that I got into pretty recently, that is a heavier band, but it's...
Was it the one that Joe was sharing with you on that podcast with Joe?
It was, yeah.
Yeah, they were really good.
Dayseeker. Yeah, Dayseeker. Yeah. Man, that record was so cool, and it's like, it's heavy, and it's got a lot of the tropes of a heavy band, but the vocals are so pop. And they might take that as a slight. I hope that they wouldn't, because I don't mean it as a slight. I just mean that they're polished and really well produced and written hooks. And that's something that I enjoy in my music is like, I want it to, sounds like my dog's pissed off. He'll get over it. Yeah, I mean, it's just cool to find music like that puts a unique twist on something that you're familiar with. And I think that's something that we're usually trying to do as well, is like, I think, our band, the Silver Echo, is a rock band, but we have tons of influences, as we're kind of talking about right now. And so like, how do we often use the maybe slightly awkward analogy of clothing, and you think like if the song is a mannequin, you can dress up that mannequin in a variety of different ways, meaning a variety of different genres of music, or, even production styles, and sort of say like, okay, well, what's going to suit this song? Let's try to put it in some sort of fashion that maybe we haven't done before, or at least haven't done in this way. And, I don't know. I think just trying to find new ideas that help trigger places that we can go. Instead of just, recreating the wheel.
There was, I'll go back and take us on a little interesting journey, but I was listening to Smartless podcast, which I love. And, I always like it because Will Arnett, he's sort of the indie guy. Jason Bateman is as well. He likes his indie stuff too, but Will, that's definitely his thing. Like, he has probably the deeper catalog that probably was very similar to my taste. And so some of his guests that he'll bring on are a little bit more into that world too. So when they get a musical guest, like he had Arcade Fire on a couple years back, which I really do love that band. But he brought Pixies on this couple weeks ago. And this is a band, you and I haven't really talked a ton about them. We talked, like, there's some bands in my past that I'm massive fan of. And Pixies, the G. Some Mary Chain, Sonic Youth, Dinosaur Jr. These are bands that I am incredibly enamored with. And Pixies really did, at a point in time for me, that was everything. Like, I was listening to their stuff, like a lot of people that was an indie kid, I think, in that world. Their first 3 records to me are everything. They're so revolutionary in what they do and how they did it, that no one sounded anything like them when they came out. Not at all. And they've influenced so many other bands. If you were to still be able to ask Kurt Cobain, Pixies would have been on his top list, as was Sonic Youth. Like, those are 2 bands that 100% were in that kind of world. So as people go back and you listen to a Nirvana, and then they go, well, what was the genesis for them? Like, what influenced that band? And you get deeper into the well of, oh, they were a big fan of the Pixies or Daniel Johnston, um, and you go and start listening to them, you find, oh, wow, this is really interesting too. And when they're interviewing them and they're talking to the guys in the band, it's like, they don't, it's very much like, we weren't intentionally trying to do anything like that. It's just, this is who we are. This is how we put music together. And that's what it was. It's kind of listening. It's kind of like, listening to Iggy Pop. He's like, I don't know, man. It's just what I felt like putting on that day. And that's just it. And it just came out that way, whether it's the Stooges or some kind of crazy thing he did in his solo work. It's like, and that kind of stuff gets me excited, because from one record to another, the ethos of that band was never like they were going to be commercially successful. So if you look at a band like Pixies, they were happy just to get out of a college era and go, oh, wow, I see some bands that I like that are getting to tour in different places across the world. That sounds like a fun thing to do. Let's figure out how they did it. And it wasn't like they were looking to get a song that's going to blow out the rafters, like,
just following your own sensibilities of what you think is interesting.
Just like, cool, let's be a working band. Let's get out there. Let's see if we can get on a tour with some other bands, and wherever it goes, it goes. And then they end up putting out songs that became iconic, but not when they were released. Like, when you hear Where Is My Mind at the end of Fight Club, you go, oh, what a cool song to sort of, put an end to that ending of that movie. And then it sort of wakes up everyone to go, oh, who is that band with that song? And you're like, oh, well, that song came out 15 years ago prior to that, right? Or however long it was. My timing's probably shit in that. But you also have Brad Pitt and Edward Norton that were fans of the Pixies that were like, that's the perfect song to put in. And so was David Fincher. So they all come from that era. They're all fans of that band. And it makes perfect sense to bring it in. But it also kind of brought Pixies back into the zeitgeist is the right word, but of popular culture. People go back and go, they find that song, it discovers, it's like what Quentin does sometimes. Quentin Tarantino does with music, where people will, old becomes new again, and people find a discovery, and then it encourages a band to kind of go back and go, oh, people are kind of listening to us again. Maybe we need to get back together and let's see what happens. And they got back together and have been doing great music for another 10, 15 years after that. So, and they're happy to be able to play clubs. They're not out there doing giant tours or anything. They're just good, like, functional in that space. And they're happy to continue to keep having an audience that show up. But they're also doing the music they love. They're not trying to sell a shit ton of records. They're just, yeah, we like making music. And if you dig it and you dig us, hopefully you'll be along for the ride. And so for me, that's always something that's really exciting. It didn't seem like they ever had aspirations of being like, we want to take over the world. It's like, we just like making music together, and let's go do that. And whatever it sounds like is what it sounds like then. And 5 years from now, it may sound completely different. And that's who we are, though. So rather than trying to figure out what is an audience going to like these days, it's kind of like the whole thing about test audiences in a movie. I used to love it when I lived in Los Angeles, getting a free, like, hey, you want to go here free tickets, come see this movie. And you're like, okay. And then you got to go, well, did you like that scene? And did that make you laugh? And did this scene make you laugh? How did you feel about the ending? And you go, God, we're having to tear it apart and analyze a movie that's not even out yet. And we're we're the tastemakers for how this movie's going to go to a wider audience.
Yeah.
That is just, to me, gross. Like,
Yeah.
now you're just trying
Yes.
to do it for the vehicle of money. It's not even for the art. And sure, I get it.
Right.
It's a business and there's a lot of money in that. So people got a lot of money they put up to make a movie successful. They don't want to see it flop. But
Well,
there's also a
yeah.
risk and reward in that, where people, if they feel like
Yes.
everything's at stake, they make something that's very powerful and compelling. What's wrong
Well,
with that?
you need if you're going to make art, and I suppose not all studios and all movies are trying to be art, so I guess that would be the argument from the studios maybe. But if you're trying to make art, you need a vision. And that vision can't be diluted through a bunch of people who don't have vision. Um, it's like I love the phrase, and I certainly didn't come up with it. I don't remember who did. I've heard it many times, but like a camel is a horse drawn by committee. It's like this wonky, makes no sense. What am I looking at? And it's like everyone has a say, and then what comes out in the end is nothing that it doesn't really resemble what we're originally trying to make in the first place.
Right.
Right. And so
right.
There has to be some conviction on behalf of what it is that's trying to be made. And I wonder how much that affects, I haven't been in a position to have to deal with that, but if you're in a successful band, I wonder how much, if people were being honest, how much the expectations of the audience and other expectations, but like how much those things really weigh on you when you're trying to make something, and you tell yourself, well, yeah, this is the most honest version we've ever done, or this is the, because everyone's always going to sort of say that, or at least have that perception of themselves when they're making something. And who am I to say that it's not? But, you wonder if there is that little voice on the inside going, well, I mean, if you did it this way, that would probably be a little more digestible, or that might fit in a little better with what you've done before.
Yep.
I would think there has to be a certain amount of pressure that gets to artists when it comes to that.
I'd agree.
Yeah. Yeah. Or
and
they're just like AC/DC
the
and they're like, this is just what I like to do. And I just want to keep doing exactly this. But I don't know how common that is.
There are people that fight the tide, I think, with that, with like Tom Petty and even, again, Pearl Jam in a certain way, where it's like, and Radiohead and some of the bands I've mentioned too, where they fight their urges to feel like they have to do, Damn the Torpedoes again and again and again and again.
Yeah. Nirvana.
Or Nirvana having to do that again. They were very clear that they had no interest in redoing Nevermind when they sat down to work on In Utero, they were done with that. It was very clear that they were going to.
In Utero is basically a giant middle finger to Nevermind.
It is a massive middle finger to the whole thing of it, to all of it. Not to the music, because they wrote the music, but necessarily to what the commercial outcomes of that became, and what the record companies and everyone wanted to do with them.
The expectations you're going to get pushed to keep trying to do the same thing.
Yeah. So if you're asking like a band like Coldplay, for example, I love that analogy to me, because I agree with you. For me, and I don't really care at this point, if you're a fan of Coldplay from the Chainsmokers duet on, good for you. To me, that is watered down dribble in comparison to Rush of Blood to the Head. And I go back even before your era, which is the Brian Eno era, which I respect. It's not my favorite part of them. They had great tunes in that space, and I love their exploration. And I, of course, have no hatred towards Brian Eno at all. He's recorded and produced some of the best music out in the world, in my opinion.
How you could hate on him.
No. I mean, again, you made the Joshua Tree. And I don't care if you like U2 or not, that record is iconic, period. Just stop. So a million other bands have tried to be that just off that one record. So there's staples out there in those things. But Rush of Blood the Head to me was, again, a band that had something to say. It was simple. It was artfully created and really powerful in its message and its intent. And if you ask me if I was a producer and Coldplay they said, we're going to take a risk on this young guy, Kevin, and we want to see what's going on, I would absolutely tell you without any doubt, forget everything you've done in the last 15 years. I want to come back to this. Strip down, no shit, no blah, blah, fluff. We're just going to focus on you with that guitar that you played Yellow on or this piano that you played most of that second record on. And I want to get us into that space again. There have been moments there. I'm not saying there haven't. And don't get me wrong, Chris Martin can write a song like better than anybody. Again, when he wants to do that, phenomenally talented band and songwriter.
Yeah.
It's just not my cup of tea, the last stuff that they've worked on. So,
well, look,
if I'm producing it, that's what I would do. It's kind of a Rick Rubin aesthetic. Let's take it back and strip it back down and find out what's so successful or what people resonate. And Rick's gotten some really good success in most of those things.
Yeah.
By making a band remember why people really fell in love in the first place, which is usually not their hit thing. It was the sort of ethos of who they were when they first started,
Yeah. Well, the evidence to me is, and I feel like I have to clarify some of these statements because, like the first time I saw Coldplay was one of the most memorable and coolest concerts and emotional that I've ever been to. Like that must have been Head Full of Dreams, maybe it was just before that. I didn't see them early on.
Well, it's in the week of Tom Petty's passing. It was literally the week.
So 2017, I think.
So a week after he passed away.
It was remarkable. It was unbelievable being at that show. That said, here we are. I'm seeing video of them in 2025. And it looks like the exact same show. It's all the same visuals. It's all the same. I'm sure there are things about it that are different, but it feels like a band that's been frozen in time for the past better part of a decade. And I go, yeah, maybe it's time to shake it up. And they've done that throughout their career in different ways, but I love that idea that you have kind of going back to the beginning, but even if it's not,
people may not like that.
Do the Prince thing and start playing small venues.
Yeah. That's another thing. It's like,
leave the fireworks and the multicolored wristbands and LEDs at home. And I want to hear them, in a small venue or in a theater, or practically, I understand they try to make themselves accessible, but
of course. But that is a band where you
challenge yourself somehow.
They have a wide scope of audience. They certainly can draw that type of crowds, but they also know that they probably have a cap on that at some point where trends and shifts and things happen, and eventually you're going to see that, we don't fill the arena that way anymore. Football fields, it gets a little bit smaller in scope. And I think I go that
even if
Neil
they
Young,
do, that they're viewed maybe as being stale. It's like you don't want to outdo a good thing.
I think it was Neil Young that had said that too. It was like, it doesn't matter if it's 5 people or 50,000 or whatever it was. It was like, trends and all that stuff you don't control. You go and make music that means something to you, and the audience will find you. And as long as you're earnest and out there trying to do it, I think Bruce has kind of probably fell into a similar aesthetic. People aren't going to go and say necessarily, and there's moments where Bruce Springsteen and Neil Young will come out with a record in a long, prolific journey where it's like, oh, this feels exciting, like Harvest Moon, or this feels like Born in the USA or Nebraska or whatever.
Right.
But they're always comparing it to the earlier stuff, right? It's not like, and I'm sure if you're that artist, you're like, I'm just doing what I feel right now.
Yeah.
And maybe there is pressure, but I don't believe in those two examples that they probably give too much of a crap about, yeah, I've already seen the other side of that rainbow and know what the good, the bad, and the very ugly is of it. So
Mm.
I'm happy just to continue to make music that excites me and my band or the people around me in my small world. And if the audience finds it, that's awesome.
Yeah.
If they don't, that's okay too, but I'll keep making music that I enjoy. And maybe the the statement about this is there is no, while it is our opinion and we are feeling a place of meh with some of the bands and artists that we have loved and talked about openly with our affection for them on many podcasts, maybe not as exciting in some of their new stuff. It's not to say that they themselves aren't trying to do things that make them excited and happy, and maybe that's what they feel. It is just an interesting topic when you think, if you're a unit like Megadeth, you have road crews, you have families of road crews, you have an entire business around the brand
Yeah.
with a lot of livelihoods and people at stake. And it's like, if they're trying to write a record to gain more audience appeal and do things to draw more people out, and they say it's their farewell tour in hopes of trying to bring a giant gathering of folks that have been Megadeth fans, old and new, out to their shows, good. It's supporting the livelihood of hundreds of other people that are helping to support that brand. So, okay, good for you guys. I respect that. It's, it keeps food on the table for a lot of people. As
Yeah.
it is it your maybe your crowning achievement? Maybe not. but
Yeah.
um but is there harm in it? Maybe not. You know, I think it's just
Yeah.
us on a quest to also, as we're getting in a space of getting ready to tackle some new music that's been sitting on the desk for us for a few months, and kind of waking ourselves back up to let's get back into some more writing of our own material. I do go in quest of like looking for things to really inspire and re-engage me in the world. And that oftentimes necessarily isn't the music that we write. It could be in completely different genres where I
Yeah.
find something that's like, oh, I love what that just did to me, or that emotion that evoked to me. And it might have been a country tune. It could have been an EDM tune. It could have been something
Yeah.
else. But it translated to me through my hands into something that might turn into a Silver Echo song. And same for you, where you are finding something, and together, when we put
Yeah.
those things together, the peanut butter and jelly of it, um, it becomes our way of looking at those things from our two different, windows, but then also through our own hands and the style of music that we like to make. And so maybe that creates something new and exciting for someone else like us who's kind of in the doldrums of trying to find something that excites them, you know? So,
Yeah. I mean, I I get to feeling guilty sometimes in a space like this, because then I'll go through a phase where I'm like, for someone who loves music as much as I do, I just won't listen to it for quite a while. Because I'll be listening through and I'm just like, man, nothing's gripping me. And I'll just be on
mm,
podcast or audiobooks or something
mhm.
for a long time. And then I start thinking like, what am I doing? Like I probably like I feel like a poser because I'm going, do if you really love music that much, why aren't you listening to it?
Mm,
It's like, well, I don't know. Nothing's really excited me for a little while. And so then I go, okay, well, I need to be a little more proactive here and try to find something. And very oftentimes, the things that do inspire me to write come from places that aren't rock, hard rock,
mhm, mhm.
whatever you call
Right.
what we do primarily.
Yeah.
Um, so, okay, one last question before we sign off here, because we're um, about at a good time to do that. But
Yeah.
this question just occurred to me as we were talking through. So, if you think about, I don't know, like big, important, influential bands over the years, right?
Mhm.
Uh, can you name like I'm putting you on the spot, and me too, but off the top of your head, can you think of like a handful of bands that uh you wish you still heard more of their influence in music that's happening today? like bands that you think a lot of people would call an influence, but you don't necessarily hear that influence much anymore,
Mm-hmm.
that you think would be, because like what comes to my head when I think of that is Queen. It's like, you know, a lot of my heroes will reference Queen as a big influence. And you will hear it in certain circles, I feel like. You'll hear that kind of thing. But I'm like, I feel like the world might be a little better place if more people were channeling Queen in their music a little bit more. Some of that adventure and that theater and drama that I don't hear as much, at least in rock. You'll get some of that in pop. And not that it doesn't exist altogether, because I think a band like the Struts does some of that pretty well. Or, you know, the Darkness, perhaps. I don't know, something like that. But I don't know, like anything come to your mind of like bands that have a powerful influence, but maybe that influence has waned a bit here in this current era of music that we're in?
Yes. I have significant ones, I think, that to me were sort of like earthquakes. It is probably the best analogy I can have in this sort of settling environment. They sort of shake it up a bit. Faith No More was one, because you hear them in so many bands, even in obvious ones that we've talked about. Avenged Sevenfold is certainly in there. Mr. Bungle and Faith No More are certainly in that. And
Definitely
doesn't seem like they're going to be going forward anytime soon. I think Mike definitely seems like he's not really interested in much. And he's also one that's on a quest to pursue new things too. So no fault to that, but that's one that I feel like I could see more of that. Obviously this is a pretty obvious one for me, but Nine Inch Nails, no one, and I mean this with all the love and respect in the world. I would be enamored to find someone that has the testicular fortitude to create the downward spiral right now.
Yeah.
I'm daring anybody to try it. Like, not for the say that you couldn't achieve it. It's just understand what that record was and how it really just shook the entire foundation of music. You don't get to put I Want to F You Like an Animal on popular rock radio. That song is so dark and so depraved, and it found an audience. So there again, that's one that I certainly would love to hear. I just said one, the Pixies, like, they're phenomenal. Here's another one that I guarantee people that might listen to this podcast would certainly appreciate, but it will date me. The Violent Femmes. No one touches that single title. Like, that music has shown up in every single movie, TV show, and it's just one record. And they've been making off of that one record forever. But every single song on that album is highly influential to other bands that have come from there.
Yeah.
Sonic Youth, they broke the mold and did something really different. And I know these are a lot of weird and indie bands and stuff too, but again, in my world, those are things that change. Guns N' Roses, I'm wearing it.
Yeah.
Appetite for Destruction destroyed hair metal because they're like, no, we're going to go back to the 70s aesthetic and we're going to do something that to me feels like it's the antithesis of the Hairspray and all that. Granted, they fell into that for a little bit.
Yeah.
But they quickly found their own thing and went in a different direction. And of course they're doing stuff. And again, that's another one. Not as exciting to me as those records, with no disrespect. Just not as exciting as your Appetite for Destruction or the records that, you know, Use Your Illusion and all that. So those are a handful for me that I do feel like I would love to hear more people going after things like that.
Taking those some of those qualities and trying to be the torchbearer of them, because I think you're right. I mean, it's industrial music, going back to Nine Inch Nails, you don't hear a whole lot of that anyway these days, and you still have some bands who kind of came from that era putting out stuff. You know, we talked about Marilyn Manson, I think kind of fits in that world. I mean, not squarely, but in that world, and Rob Zombie kind of doing their own versions of some of that thing. And then I guess you have bands like, I don't know, probably Motionless in White would be like a more modern band pulling from that thing, but it's really still a different thing.
Bad Omens. There's so many in the Octane Radio world of that pull from that, but they're not.
Yeah.
They're not doing a Downward Spiral type thing. It's not a whole earth-shattering.
And it's a bit hard to put that expectation on somebody, but I get what you mean. I think about and this is maybe like seems almost too silly to mention, but I think about Van Halen, and I don't mean the guitar virtuosity. I think about I love hearing Eddie play, and that is definitely the first thing I think about when I think about Van Halen. But really what I enjoy about their music are the songs are fun. There's this sense of like joy, and like when I listen to the music, I see Eddie in my head smiling, because that's like always how he was on stage, is like this big grin, like it's so much fun. And I don't hear a lot of that sort of like major, when I say major, I mean in the music terminology sense, like more like happy rock and roll that's fun.
Simpler time. And the bravado and swagger of that music is,
it's like not everything is in a minor key, and it swings, and it it has attitude, but it's like it's not taking itself too serious. I would like to see more of that in music. So we should be probably writing this down, because these should all be things that we're trying to do in our music. But I think it's interesting to think about, is like, with everything that all the music that's being made out there, and there is a lot of great music, even if I'm in kind of a blah attitude about it. But there are still these I don't know, these missing pieces that we really connected with certain bands, that it would be great to see new bands come up and really, like I said, like take the baton or the torch and carry it on,
It just made me think of quick, and I won't keep us on this one, but again, Pink Floyd. I don't hear anybody doing something like that.
That's interesting.
No one's even coming close to anything that they did that would be, again, and no one, I'm not saying no one that I've heard. Maybe that's out there. Maybe someone is, but I'm not looking for the cheap imitations of those bands. I'm looking for people that are finding that in their own way. There was a band that was out. It was an indie band called the Secret Machines that were out in kind of the early aughts, and they had kind of found an energy that was similar to Pink Floyd in a way that was both fresh but also unique. Wolfmother was one that kind of found a thing about Black Sabbath that was still cool without it not feeling like a cheap imitation. And
what you're hitting on is super important, important, because you're right. You don't want to. This might be the most pejorative thing that I've said about a band, but like, you don't want to be the Led Zeppelin ripoff band.
No, Greta Van Fleet. That's what I was just going to tell you.
Fleet. Yeah. It's like you don't want to be
too much. You've gone full.
Yeah, you don't want to replicate what's already been done. What you want to do is like tap in to the universal wavelength that those bands found that allowed them to create something from that sort of place.
That's right.
And have it be a new version of that, but coming from the same level of authenticity. Yeah. And, it's like you sent me a band that I was really excited to listen to because the pitch was great. It's like, hey, this is kind of like Soundgarden mixed with some more like atmospheric or... and I listened to it, and I kind of got turned off really quickly by it. Not because it wasn't good. I won't even name them because it's not
doesn't
important.
Matter. Right.
And I probably just need to go back and try again, but I'm listening to it and I'm going, this is so similar to Soundgarden that I just want to go listen to Soundgarden. I don't want to listen to this, not
Which
because
is
it's
exactly
not good,
what I did.
but it's like, I I want to like it, but it feels like it's the store brand. It's the generic of the thing that I really want, you know?
The Sykes, not the Nikes, the Sykes.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not a swoosh. It's a arrow that looks like a swoosh. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is a bit
It's
of
the Fruity O's, not the Fruit Loops.
Well, there was one track that I'd heard. Sometimes Instagram, you'll see those ads and stuff that pop up, and I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. Let me go check it out. And there was a couple songs that I was like, he does kind of evoke a bit of that, but I did find myself sort of 3 or 4 songs in, like, okay, yeah, I probably want to just go back and listen to the genesis of it, the real thing.
Yeah.
You know, I told you about this too. It's like as bands were coming out that were later in those early aughts that I wasn't a massive fan of at first, I was always going, and I said that to you about Avenge, like,
yeah,
cool, I'll just go listen to, again, Faith No More and Mr. Bungle. Like,
Bad Religion.
Bad Religion. That's, yeah. Those are the bands. And you can clearly see it. They wear it on their sleeve in a prideful way.
Yeah.
But until I listened to them more, I was like, oh, no, there's other stuff in there. There's Metallica. There's all the other things that we've figured out with that band. But, you know, and it's like, okay, well, I'm not going to fault them. But it just made me crave the other thing. And, you know, I'm like, well, sure, Limp Bizkit was doing
another one with them.
Yeah,
too. That has a pretty strong influence.
I didn't like Limp Bizkit in the beginning. I was so frustrated with them, and I've come around to being like, I appreciate what they did. I told you about Audioslave. I've really come to love them now, but in the beginning, it bummed me out because I was such a big fan of Rage and Zach. That's another band, like, I would love to hear somebody do something like that again that has something to say because Rage's music and lyrical content and their messaging, and they eat, sleep, and were breathing that for a long time. It was dangerous, and it felt dangerous, and it felt chaotic and on the verge of riotous, similar to their name. And it was exciting to see it. You just go back and look at that DNC
convention. If you want that feeling, just go on social media.
No, but this is the thing I'm getting to.
Everyone thinks they're Rage Against the Machine now.
Totally. Yeah, it's armchair. It's armchair rage. Yeah, armchair Rage Against the Machine for views and likes. But that DNC performance that they did, and you have police everywhere and all this kind of stuff. Like, you could feel that energy in LA, like it's about to erupt.
Right.
You don't feel that from bands. Like, where is that danger where you don't know if they're going to get arrested? You don't know if they're going to cut themselves open on stage. You don't know what's to come.
Yeah.
And in a world of really safe sort of guardrails, I just wish somebody would have the courage to be able to kick it down and not be super afraid of what the outcome is on the other side of it, but rather to say, can we forge new territory here and say something that's really important or of the time? The music that I've talked about spawned from a time of frustration, inner turmoil, frustrations, political environments, things that were going on, and they broke new ground by saying what they wanted to say. And whether it's film, whether it's music, whether it's whatever, if you find the place to do that and you're not afraid by, is this going to be commercially disastrous? Does this, cancel me in the world of woke culture and things that are out there? If you're living in that spaces, you're going to create something that ultimately and unfortunately might be homogenized in a way, and it's not really your true self. You're not getting a chance to be who you really want. And so I would say, just to close it up, the encouraging message, not just for us to get off our own laurel and figure it out, but it's also to say to other folks out there who continue to want to pick up an instrument and say something there, it's like, kick down the wall. It's time for music to do that very thing. And moments like this in our society, in our world, should be pushing us to want to do that without the fear of what's on the other side. And I think we've been so confined on fear and consumed by fear that we're not willing to take that artistic risk sometimes to push the boundary in a place that could be so healthy and revolutionary for people. The silliest thing of Smells Like Teen Spirit, the whole thing that it did was speak to a generation of people that were sick and tired of feeling marginalized and homogenized in a way that they wanted something else. And that's why it took off. That and the fact that it's an incredibly well-crafted tune.
Yeah.
But the message behind that is what got to people. And then it created an entire sea change in the world. We need that. We need more of that right now in a huge way.
That makes me really optimistic about the future, and especially like kids who are maybe high school age at this point and what kind of stuff they're going to be into and making, because, I mean, we've been about 10 years now of this political tension, here in the US and the world too. I mean, things are so global now, but, and so much has come to light, so much corruption and so much hypocrisy and things that have always existed in politics and in the world. But things with technology and visibility to this stuff has become so much that people have become really inundated with it. And people even of my generation, I think, are maybe a little bit overwhelmed with what we're supposed to even do with all that. But I think, if you're growing up in this and most of your childhood has been this tension and difficulty, and AI and all the changes coming with that, all of the fake things that are coming out, I think there's always going to be those rebels who fight back against that. And that's not saying that AI, for example, is something that shouldn't exist. It's here to stay and it's going to serve a lot of really great purposes. But I think it will also reflexively create a lot of people who reject it to create something that is counter that culture. Because it happens in every generation. And I really look forward to seeing what that's going to be. And I'm doing my best not to become the old man who's like, well, back in my day, everything was better. It's like, I'm really looking forward to seeing what the new generation is going to produce in terms of artwork. And I hope that I'm not too much of a Neanderthal to, be able to comprehend it when it shows up.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. It's almost a challenge for us to pick up a torch and go. I think if I was producing us, not knowing the band and maybe wasn't in the band and so quickly connected to it, we did a massive record with a lot of production that I'm very proud of and has great tunes. No doubt it deserves an audience. If I'm looking at today and going, what do I want to say today in this moment right now on this day? I would take all of that back and go, let's make a punk rock record that just kicks everyone's teeth in. And noisy, grimy, living okay with its mistakes, no metronomically perfect corrective nonsense, just pure emotion, and let it be. And let's see what it is. Bruce did it with Nebraska, even though he had Born in the USA pretty much already done, and says, no, this is the record. No, this is the record I'm putting out. And everyone's like, are you crazy? You just did Hungry Heart, man. Everybody in the world's loving that tune on the radio. He's like, I don't care. This is the record.
Yeah.
I got something I want to say that's important to me.
Yeah.
And people now revere that record to be a masterpiece. So, and it's him sitting on a bed basically with a 2-track or whatever the thing was and just recorded it. And, there's a lot of people out there that have very simple tools. Go buy an old Tascam in a pawn shop, plug in a guitar, make it distorted like it sounds like Revolution from the Beatles, and write your own Revolution. And I will sign up happily and listen to that, whether it's us or somebody else. I don't care. Yeah.
Love it. Well said. Well, any other thoughts, or is that a good place for us to wrap, you think?
That felt like a good punctuation. Go write your own Revolution.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Love that. Well, if you made it to the end, as always, thank you. We appreciate it. Stay connected with us. Go to our website, go to our social media, check us out there. Of course, this is the Sonic Alchemy podcast, and then our band is the Silver Echo. So you can find us at the Silver Echo anywhere you look. Yeah, we appreciate you, and we will see you again next week.